Hoo-hoo, it is Friday, and it's Bring It In with me, Jarod Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
Jarod, I got to put on a suit this weekend and go see
Oh,
my son play a game. I'm
so
not in either.
are you putting on the suit to go watch him play? Let's break that down.
Hell no. No, I've my next door neighbor's son. They live right over here. His son's bar mitzvah. So
okay.
We got to put a nice suit on and then go party at the country club at night. And I've not worn a suit in the pandemic one time, and I fucking love my suits. And then on Sunday, I got to go see my son play at my alma mater, play Florida. So
well,
I'm not taking a media pass. I'm going in as a dad of a kid on the team. Fuck everybody else. I don't care if they're good.
Well, l'chaim to your neighbor and family and their bar mitzvah. He's become a man today. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. So Coach, as you know, well, not as much anymore. I was a college football as a Gator fan growing up. And that is your alma mater.
Were you really?
Yo, yeah, I love Steve Spurrier. Spurrier's my guy. Fun and gun. I love it. And you, of course, have a son that Max you love very much that goes to Florida State. So I know there's no worried about your allegiances, but do you feel a little funny wearing the garnet and gold, or you're like, it's fine?
I don't wear garnet and gold, to be honest with you. I don't wear Gators either. I've not worn Gator gear probably in 25 years. I root for friends. And in this case, I'm rooting for my son and his teammates. I stopped rooting for any one team a long time ago because I just had too many friends in the industry. And whether I have a friend who's an AD at New Mexico. I have friends that are head coaches all over the country or assistant coaches. I have friends who have sons who play. So I won't have any. I'll be rooting like a motherfucker for Florida State. I'll probably wear this shirt actually because the closest thing to garnet that I have, I don't own any Florida State gear. When my son gives me something, I'll wear it then. I bought my wife some cool stuff, but yeah, I root for people, not for universities.
But when you step on to the UF campus, you're probably going to feel a little bit of nostalgia, right? Like, oh, I used to run around here and do things.
Oh, I mean, where they play is 3-minute walk from my dorm.
Oh,
I've been up there a lot. I went to camps for years when I first graduated, and my son has played in a lot of events there in AAU. And so I've taken tons of kids on tours. There's a friend of mine who coaches actually at my son's team. He has a great comment about you don't pick a school for buildings and bushes. I just love that so much. At the end of the day, it's who the people are. I had some great times down in that O'Connell Center. I saw Vernon Maxwell for 3 years.
Mad Max.
He was a freshman when I was a sophomore, and I was best friends with the manager. One of the guys on the team is my son's, godfather, my kid's godfather. I love those guys, but there's no I don't even watch Gator basketball. I watch my son's team, and that's it right now.
Well, moving into the NBA, let's start with your wonderful article that just came out before we started recording today about the Golden State Warriors and the way they are attacking third quarters, much like they did when they were winning titles. 3 seasons ago. Anatomy of a knockout. Coach, what are you seeing from the Warriors in the third quarter that may be surprising to some?
Well, I mean, they're killing it. So they didn't against the Timberwolves. We'll talk about Curry versus Edwards later, but it wasn't just Edwards. D'Angelo Russell was cooking too. But yeah, they dominate. Judy's putting the graph up now that she made. They're dominating third quarters with suffocating defense, and they have Steph Curry. So he leads the league in first and third quarter scoring, but their defense in the first quarter isn't great. Their defense in the third quarter is suffocating. And I think what's happening, there's a lot that's going on. It's only been 11 games, and they play the worst schedule in the league. So they have the best record against the worst schedule. So it's hard to really gauge just what they'll do when they actually start playing decent teams, which starts tonight. They play the Bulls, who right now are doing really well. I bet they're in your top 5.
They sure are.
So we'll see a little bit more. But what I wrote about, what I found in studying it was I compared it to boxing. I learned a lot about boxing from my grandfather, who was a doctor, but he knew the fight game, and we would watch boxing matches together. And I stopped watching boxing since he died in 1983, and I watched it about since. But it's a lot of nothing, ducking and weaving and protecting. And when you land that one pop, boom, 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 fight's over. Like that's the goal. The goal that a knockout doesn't typically come from one punch. It can, of course. it normally comes from what happens after that first punch. And so, and in Golden State's case, between their very fast or speedy defense with fast, long, quick guys all over the place, racing out, they lead the league, I think, or maybe top 3 in contested shots in the third quarter. They're up there top 3 in deflections and steals. And actually, I didn't even write this, but I think they're tops in defensive rebound rate for third quarters. So they're really limited to one shot, and it's not a good shot. And it might be a scrambled shot because of deflections. And then they have Curry on the other end. And like in the game that I talk about in particular first is the Hawks game. It's a 4-point game with just a few minutes to go in the third. Like it's a competitive game. And Kevin Huerter kind of got tagged a little bit. Curry hit a 3 from deep.
I watched that.
He kind of struggled some offensively. And all of a sudden they're down 13 or 14. Game's over. Game's over at that point. You're not going to come back on scoring that much in a quarter. So they just disorient you, and then they sharks around blood. They just like the boxer who knows, this guy's hurt, I'm going at him. That when you injure a guy a little bit, that's not the time to get conservative. That's when you go for the kill shot.
Go after him. Go for the kill shot. Yep.
Same thing in basketball. It's something we teach all the time. But I've coached high school players. They don't really get that. I do. I see it. And I'll get my starting 5 back in, or I'll change defenses and add pressure when I think the other team is reeling, or they maybe have a backup point guard that sucks and really can't handle pressure. These guys have Curry and Green still, and Looney maybe. Looney gets it, but Looney's a brilliant basketball IQ guy. But Curry and Green know exactly what that starry-eyed look looks like. And I just think they ramp it up in that quarter and end you very often. They're very good in that quarter.
And you brought up an interesting point. I love the boxing analogy. My introduction to boxing, I grew up Leonard, Hagler, Hearns, Durant.
Yeah, I listened to that fight on the radio. Those
4 guys, that was my introduction to boxing. My godfather was heavily into boxing. So whenever I go to his house, he just turn on tapes and I'm like, what are we doing? And are we watching this thing? But that's what it was, right? I was understanding the sweet science, right? It's not, to your point about the knockout punch. It's the foot movements, the bobbing and weaving. It's jab, 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 right? And it's the repeated hits and then all of a sudden, starry-eyed, boom, right? And it's the Kevin Huerter thing. Got tagged a few times and you saw it. And I love Huerter. Huerter's one of my favorite young players in the league. He started slumping. Shoulders were down. Head was down. Like he just, and it's like, that's it. Curry was like, oh, I got him now. Kill. Right. And then that was the Hawks team as a whole. They were like, all right, we're done.
Yeah. You're just not going to come back that down 14 in one quarter. In Huerter's case, he used what we call a staggered screen up top. Curry chased it up top, stole it from Huerter, immediately fouled him. So that's 2 points with Steph Curry. Very next possession on offense for the Warriors was transition. Curry had already made a deep 3 and an 18-footer right before those 2 plays before that. And Iguodala comes to set a screen for Curry. And Huerter's got to go over the screen. You can't go under the screen on Curry. But so you got to go over and stay connected, but you shouldn't foul. And he tripped Curry. Well, that's just 2 points. That's a 2-point trip. And like as I wrote in my piece, the Hawks were down 4 with a couple minutes to go in the quarter. It's right there. Yeah. And they were looking to get some traction. They've not been good. And a win against Golden State, when Golden State's 8-1, would have been a nice win for them. And they walked to the bench 2 minutes later, game's over. Game's over. So
I think for Atlanta, though, and with Nate, because I was wondering, Nate, like, you're leaving, because it's like that sort of thing where it's like you see, like, because these guys are younger than me, so I always view them as like guys I like Triple J, Huerter, as like kids, right? Like my young kids that I always want them to do well. So when they're doing poorly, I'm like, oh no, Nate, take him out. He needs like some talking to. But there's probably a point where Nate's like, no, I'm going to leave him because this is good for him. He's going to learn. He's going to learn from this.
Yeah, you got it. The saying, next play. Ted Lasso says, be a goldfish. That is. I guarantee you somewhere in Ted Lasso's, I think Ted Lasso played a year of junior college basketball, which means he played high school basketball. His coach probably said something like that. We all do. I always tell players, there's so much that you've got to evaluate in every given possession. There's no time to dwell on what just happened other than the immediate lesson you can learn. That's it. Take the immediate lesson, file it away, and move on. It's a great lesson for life. We get caught up so much in our own lives and if you're a teenager, our own acne, our own drama. And the reality is, you don't even notice anybody else because they're all fucking doing the same thing. It's where we prioritize our attention. And I think it's not just Steph Curry and Draymond Green. What makes the great players great, Durant, all these guys, is they just know how to live in that moment. It's a talent and a skill. It's a talent and a skill.
Yeah.
And the veteran guys have it, and young guys do not. They're on that roller coaster. Woo! Fighting sometimes, exhilarating, and then terrible. They just got to grow up a little bit.
I mean, you know this, coach. As a coach myself, one of the talks I always give is the precious present, right? Like that's the thing that we know that's here, like right now, right? Previous, going to, over, I don't know what's coming, right? But now we know now, right? And I think that's it's, as you said, it's a good lesson for life. And when you're young, it's really hard to have that. That's definitely a skill. Speaking of young guys, number 1 and number 2, head to head, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green. You know, Cade, I love Cade because Cade, and I want to be clear about something. I love Jalen Green too. I think there is room for all different kinds of personalities and showmen. I love Ant Edwards. Like, whatever is who you are naturally, you be that. And I'm good with that. But I love the contrast, of course, between Cade and Jalen. And there was a play in the game, and, you know, Jalen's got the thing where he's like, I was drafted too. And so every time I play against Cade, I got something a little bit extra. So he dunks on Caleb, and, you know, and he whoofs at him. But Caleb draws a foul late in the game, doesn't say anything, gets back up, runs down the court, all that. I loved it, coach. I thought it was really cool. What'd you see when you saw Jalen Green and Caleb Cunningham go head to head?
I didn't until this morning on Synergy, because my
because those teams suck. Yes,
exactly. So in my feeble little brain that I have, I could only take in so much stimuli at any one moment, or I freeze over. And there's a lot to take in. So I kind of draw the line at bad players and bad teams. I just don't really watch them until you put in the document. I'm like, oh, I had read about it. I knew how they did. I saw the headlines, but I went back and watched all their clips from the game today. And Cade had not played well until that game. That was his first, pretty damn good game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that either is going to make it. I think Cunningham has a better chance. I think it's likely both will. Don't get me wrong. They have a lot to learn. In Jalen's case, Jalen is the kid whose parents own a candy store, and he's just eating all the fucking candy. And you better hope his dentist is living next door, because that dude he's Jordan Clarkson as a rookie, right? Without the game, he's super athletic now. He's very talented. I mean, super talented, and he should be inspired by Ant Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's gotten much better in year 2 as a winner, which is not something I thought necessarily he would do. And he's getting better at it. His team sucks, but Edwards' ratings so far are pretty good if you look at offensive versus defensive rating.
Mm-hmm.
Green's got the same kind of potential. They're built a little bit differently, obviously. Both incredibly athletic, off guards. Primary ball handling off guards. I think that Cunningham, he's a little more measured, pace a little bit better. He's got more size. He had a couple, we just saw one of the clips, kind of making plays near the rim, but not necessarily at the rim. Scottie Barnes is really good at that. He needs to do that more because he's a big guard.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good shooter who's not shot well this year. He shot well in college. I think Cade, if I was betting, I'd bet that he's more likely to make it, in a sense, really make it as a really good starter. I think Green's got a higher upside and a lower floor.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to be a stat stuffer scorer.
Yeah.
If he's lucky, he's Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams, and maybe better because he's bigger than those guys. So listen, if he's just that's a good pick.
Yeah.
You can draft a potential 6th man of the year who's going to be one of the top scorers per minute in the world.
That's pretty good.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, stupid not draft Scottie Barnes or Evan Mobley. That's a separate argument. No, in any draft, if you can get one of those guys, great. Cunningham, I think, can be more Jason Tatum-y.
Mm-hmm.
I said that before, but they've got work to do. I do think, though, they both clearly can be really special players. It's a great rookie class.
What do you think about this idea that for a lot of rookies, not necessarily the Barnes, the Mobleys, but guys like Jalen Green, in his mind, I win the matchup if I outscore Cade. But it's like, bro, but you lost the game though. And you were a net negative. Like, yeah, you scored 25, but like you were net negative and you lost. Like,
so we talk about something like three-dimensional chess, which we play in life, and there's certain players like LeBron, who all the guys are, they play it in a game. These guys are not playing three-dimensional chess except for this. If you're Jalen Green and you're thinking, well, I can really score and I can fill up the highlight reels on Sports Center, and that's going to be attractive to endorsement opportunities, and that becomes a priority. I don't know that he's doing any of that because I don't follow that kind of stuff. I know he's got the game for it, for sure. When I was coaching younger players with that kind of talent, I would not even, if I had a vote, I would tell them, I didn't even want you doing a radio show, because these guys can do radio shows for money too. Mm-hmm. I just want you to focus on your game and your craft. It's so hard to be good. It's so hard. But the money is so exorbitant now that I can't even begrudge a guy who's making a business decision. No different than the kids that I had a meeting this week with a group that they don't want to compete with Overtime Elite, but they want to build like a Montverde. And so they met with me this week, my first in-person meeting indoors since in the pandemic. We're all boosted up and whatever. And this woman said she doesn't love the Overtime Elite process because what if they don't make it? And this woman's a very successful attorney who's now running a school for underprivileged kids. She has a huge heart. She has 10 underprivileged kids living in her home. So this is not a Karen, but she sounded like one. She said that, and I just gently reminded her, I don't want my children to go make money when they're 18, 19 and not have college, because college is great and they don't need to make the money. We're fine. Mm-hmm. But how would you ever judge another family for doing so that isn't as lucky as maybe you have been? She didn't argue that one bit. So again, for Jalen Green, maybe he's going to make $200 million in his career as a player. Maybe not. So if there's a way to make some fast money and big money as a superstar athlete, go do your thing. But to your point, you may still lose a bunch of games because most of those guys don't understand and we're going to talk about Scottie Barnes later, it's the little things that help you win games. And that's why I think Cunningham is just better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is.
And maybe it's because he played in college. I mean, remember, it's not fair to really judge Jalen Green from this standpoint. Not only did he play in the G League as opposed to college, they were so limited in what they could do as a short 13-game season, short training. Cade Cunningham got way more experience at Oklahoma State learning the fundamentals of the game than Jalen did. But he'll catch up, just like LeBron did. When LeBron was first in the league, Jarod, he made a lot of really obvious fundamental mistakes in terms of things like footwork and where his head was and eyes. He doesn't make those. He stopped making those mistakes in a couple of years, right? 82 games a year will do that. So Jalen Green's going to get all that IQ baked in. But right now it's a freak show, in my opinion. It's like the N1 games. It's fun, but you may lose your lunch a couple of times with the shots he takes.
It's the N1. I love it.
Am I wrong?
No, you are not wrong. So someone who I know who doesn't love that kind of play, who likes more disciplined players and teams, is Tom Thibodeau. So the Knicks had a game Wednesday night against the Milwaukee Bucks. Really, second out of a back-to-back from Milwaukee. Should have been a win for the Knicks. But the Knicks strugglers were starting and the Knicks starters were struggling, and Thibodeau called them out. As a coach, what did you see from the Knicks starters? And I know it was high school, but like, I'm sure you had moments like that, right? Where your starters were not playing well and you said, all right, I'm putting the bench guys in. And we've seen in the NBA, bench guys come back, take the lead. You keep riding them because the starters don't have it.
Yeah, I like, I just don't have any pride. So I was quick to change whatever all the time, even high level AAU through national levels. I just wasn't married to anything, and still am not. When I was just on the phone today with Caleb. Pride is a killer. And I don't know what took Tom so long. I think their starters are minus 14 for the season. So I thought that was a little surprising, but no, you got to press every button you have to. I don't know what's wrong. I've not broken the Knicks down that much. Last year they shot great, if I remember correctly.
They did.
They're not shooting as well this year, right?
Nope. And I think that's the thing we're seeing with a lot of teams, Coach, is that early on through the first 11 games, most teams have about 11 games in, you're seeing shot luck change, right? Because that's the thing about shooting and shooting percentages, right? You look at something like the 3-point shot, right? Like that's a high variance shot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get bad 3-point luck. That happens, right? That was the Rockets in Game 7 missing 27 consecutive threes. That's just bad 3-point luck. The worst time
really
to have
bad
it.
luck.
right?
Really
That's the
bad.
worst time to have it, but
Yeah.
they had it, right? Like it just is what it is. And a lot of teams, I think the Knicks last year, if you look really close to their numbers, played good defense, but they had very, very good opponent 3-point luck and all that. And this year, it's shifting a little bit. And the starters themselves, kind of meh.
So I believe, and I bet there's mathematicians who have probably proved this, that it's one game. We play offense half the time, we play defense for half the time, but they're connected in ways beyond just turnovers on offense leading to defense or offensive rebounds and whatever. There's another part of it too, which is when you're rolling offensively, making shots like they did last year, there's a little bit extra pressure put on opponents' shooters to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
And they take bad shots.
And so they take bad shots, or they just feel the stress of having to make this one because they keep making theirs. That's part of it. That is in the mental makeup of what happens during the course of a 48-minute game. If the other team is missing, I still want to make the shot, but the pressure's not quite. There's a 1 ounce different, just a 1 gram or whatever. It adds up.
Yeah.
And so now the Knicks aren't shooting as well. And so the pressure is not quite there. It's easier to shoot when you're relaxed for pros anyway. High school kids, maybe not. And so I wonder if that's a part of it. And also the Knicks last year earned a feeling about playing them. There was a palpable feeling when you lined up against the Knicks. You knew what you were getting. And I think that carried some gravitas to it and some angst even maybe to the team they were playing. Like, fuck, we're in for it tonight. But they earned that. And they haven't earned that this year yet. It doesn't carry over because of the brand name.
Right.
We saw that with Golden State the last 2 years. No, you have to earn it. So it's still there for them to maybe come around. But I think maybe Mitchell Robinson starting isn't working out great.
Yeah, I'm wondering about Obi Toppin. Should he be getting way more minutes?
Yeah.
Like, and Tibbs doesn't love playing younger players, but it's like, man, you're too reliant on Derrick Rose and Tosh Kipper. It's like those guys are fine, but I mean, not to get to where you ultimately want to get to.
They were playing really big games last decade. I'm sorry. 2 decades ago, right? They were playing in the aughts. Am I right?
Yeah.
In Chicago? When did Derrick Rose get drafted?
Derrick Rose is 08, 09, somewhere in that. Yeah, that's
is it that late?
Right. Yeah. We can look that up. 08. Thank you, Caleb.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I figured.
at the end it was 09. So no. So they weren't really playing a big game. Oh, they sucked in 09. So the beginning of the last decade, not 2 decades ago. Yeah, those guys they've been around a long time.
They got some points
right.
They got some tread marks on those on those tires. Right. Unfortunately, I wanted to talk about the players that have been pulled into health and safety protocol, and it's kind of not been talked about a lot. But it's like, whoa, early on, and it's big names too, right?
Yeah.
The Sixers alone have had Tobias Harris, Thibault, Embiid, right? I mean, that's
big three.
And of course we know about Ben Simmons. We'll get to that in a second. With the Bucks, Middleton's been in it. The Cavs are playing well, but Kevin Love's been in it. I mean, this is something that is interesting, and we talked about this at the beginning of the season. We know in an NBA season, shit's going to happen to your team. Injuries, whatever, stuff's going to happen. Why are you allowing a thing that you can control to be a problem for you in the season? And that's being vaccinated. Like, you can solve that problem. Vax, you don't got to worry about any of this. But it's not good. I don't like these early signs.
I would say I've been, until this last week where I had some meetings. I know I didn't think I'd be going to see my parents. It turns out my dad's in the hospital again. I think he's going to be fine. But so I wasn't planning on seeing him for a week because we're traveling all weekend. And I've got 3 doses in me. And so I didn't worry about it. But when I thought I'd be seeing my parents, I still always mask up. In this one meeting I didn't, because we were in a small room. They were a big room, I'm sorry. And both people had both had COVID and fully vaxxed. So I didn't worry about it. I talked to my brother's a doctor and asked, and he said, you're fine. I don't know that these players are being that cautious. And so I hope that they're vaccinated and so that they'll be fine being sick. But passing it around means you're missing games. And this is what's happening Philly lost last night to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know they would have lost if Joel Embiid played.
Yep.
Tobias came back, but he had been out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that it's just, I got mask shamed yesterday for the first time.
Mask shame? What's happening?
I think it's mostly because, I'm not an NBA athlete, but I'm 6 foot, 200 pounds. I'm pretty fucking strong. And I just have an angry look on my face probably most of the time, I guess. So no one's ever said shit to me. Of course, I have a mask on. But yesterday, this motherfucking guy, he's definitely taller than me. And I'm going to tell you the story. It's going to sound silly and stupid, but I think it's humorous. I'm going to tell it to you. So he's wearing a black shirt, a black T-shirt, 3 sizes too small. He isn't super fat, but he's not fit. Let's just put it that way. But not obese, nothing like that. And this fucking silly motherfucker says it out loud enough for me to hear. I'm the closest guy to him. Like, I look around the room, we're in Publix. I'm just buying dinner for my wife. He says, half the people here are still scared. And my mind is saying, okay, Mr. Maturity, like, no answer, which is normally how it would be. Like, these guys aren't worth my time.
Right.
But 2021, man, I'm tired of it. As my wife would say, there's no more fucks to give, right? So knowing my personality, said, yeah, I'm scared. He's like, yeah, I know you're scared. You guys are all scared. I said, yeah, I'm definitely scared. And again, I have a mask on, a big, thick, KN95 mask. And he's like, I don't know why you guys all believe everything you said in your LCD crystals. And I thought about taking my mask off for effect, but I didn't. And I just said, I'm scared to give my sick father and my 80-year-old mom, my 84-year-old mother-in-law, the disease. And he was with 2 women. I didn't pay attention to them. I don't know if they were mom and wife or sisters. I don't know. But they kind of just grabbed me like, let's just move away from this guy. You are an idiot for saying what you said out loud about being scared. But here's the funny part. As soon as I got done, the coach of me said, why am I judging this guy because of his fucking stupid T-shirt? I was wearing, you ever see the movie Dodgeball?
Yeah.
I was wearing an Average Joe's T-shirt that my wife bought me because I love that movie, right? It's a funny movie. So I'm like, I'm wearing a fucking nappy because I can't go in a tank top. My wife would divorce me. So I was going in with an Average Joe shirt. And I'm thinking, I'm so wrong for judging him for that fucking tight fitting shirt he was wearing. And then 5 minutes later, some young lady walks by. She's like, hey, I love your shirt. I'm like, hey, I can judge that motherfucker. But yeah, so why are we doing mask shaming? Like, wear a mask, stop getting your teammates sick.
Yeah.
And don't miss any games. It's not rocket science.
That's the thing, right? Like, the thing that gets me is you're missing games for a situation that you can control. Right. Injuries aren't your fault. You get hurt, whatever, like, that shit happens. It's basketball.
That shit happens, right.
But you are willfully doing something that you have control over. That's the part that I'm like, come on, guys. Like,
well, and Jarod, the margins, we're going to talk about our top 5 later. It ain't easy.
No.
There's only one team. It's early. There's only one team standing out. And they're on both of our lists, I'm sure. Despite playing the easiest schedule in the league, their job is to win the games that the NBA assigned them to play. But there's going to be a team that's a 4 seed, maybe the Sixers, that is now going to be a 5 seed because they lost an extra game or 2 because guys tested positive. And that means they're on the road in a game 7 or they're down 2 going home. Neither is optimal.
Yep.
So to me, these margins are so close.
Yes.
You got to be thoughtful that way, I believe.
Yeah. And it's part of a team. And this is all the whole ethos of being part of a team, right? It's about caring about something bigger than yourself, right? That is the whole reason why you do this whole thing. Right. Speaking of the Sixers, the Ben Simmons situation is gotten interesting. So Rich Paul talked to Shams Charania of The Athletic, and Ben basically said that, he feels the Sixers are forcing him to talk to their mental health professionals so they can deem him ready to play when he is in fact not ready to play. And Keith Pompey, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the great beat reporter down there, he put out a story yesterday that Ben actually did show up at film session right before the Raptors game, and he was in the back of the room during film session. He didn't stick around for shoot around and all that, but he was in a film session. And the Sixers are at a point right now where their whole position is, we want you to ramp up and get yourself together as if you're going to play, unless either you or our medical professionals say you are not fit to play. And coach, this is a slippery slope because Ben has been working with the NBPA's mental health professionals, right? And that's the players union. And the Sixers are like, well, we want you to work with our doctors, and whatever notes and sessions you have with that doctor, we want communication between the two. This has been a thing in sports in general, not just Ben Simmons. Team physicians, mental health professionals, whatever, they work and are employed by the team. That's just a fact. That is their employer. That's who pays their money and does all of that. When it comes to a medical professional's obligations, right? Ethics tell them patients' rights come first, and it's you do whatever's in best right, whatever's in the best case for your patient, right? Are we sure that team physicians and professionals do all that? They take into consideration the patient above the team that they work for, the actual employer. And that's the slippery slope they're on. And so coming out and basically saying, we want Ben to do X, you're kind of in a roundabout way not saying with the fines or whatever, that you're not really believing his claims about mental health. Now, I can't speak to them because I don't know. One, I'm not a mental health professional. Two, I haven't talked to Ben Simmons, so I don't know any of that stuff. And Rich Paul said to Shams Charania, the continued public display in which this is happening, the fines, the ridicule of Ben and what you're positioning. And of course, yeah, Shams now rep by UTA. Very good. Very good, Greg.
Yeah, it was an inter-office memo that he reported.
Exactly. That he basically wrote from Clutch. That he's saying is adding to Ben's mental health concerns and making this even more difficult. Look, you and I know the situation's ugly and it's not getting better. There's no trust here. And the only way this is going to get resolved is when Ben is eventually moved off of this team. But until then, I mean, is this what we have to deal with for the next, 30 days until December 15th, 34 days?
Jarod, with your professional voice acting talent, will you read what I have in bold? This is from Rich Paul, the agent.
Oh yeah, this is what Rich Paul said to Shams. I want Ben on the floor. Whether that's in a 76ers uniform or any other uniform, that's not up to me. But I want him in a state where he can resume play.
So, well done, by the way. So that's a change. That's a big change. That's him saying, I fucked up. And this is all part of that. Some without question, some of, if not most of Simmons' issues are now being put right back on his own team. Mm-hmm. Whereas initially the Sixers did some things I thought that weren't great, nothing terrible or anything, but nothing egregious. But now Philadelphia has played, I think they followed their protocol pretty well. To your point on the team psychologist, of which I do know some, of course, you're right. They're in the employ of the team. You would think that the powers that be in Philadelphia have explained to him or her, we need to get this guy healthy. Like, it is not beneficial to us that you can't think that we want him back before he's ready and playing badly. So the sports psychologist should have been empowered to treat this athlete as if you are not being paid by the team, because we need this person as healthy as possible mentally and physically. But I don't know that happened. We'll see. Daryl Morey's not stupid. But to me, I look at from the strategy of Rich Paul took a chance and it's gone poorly. But we know about Rich Paul. He learns. Mm-hmm. He learned from the decision. Mm-hmm. And then I thought he also learned when LeBron said, I ain't taking a discount.
So this is interesting too, Coach. I'm reading more of Rich Paul's quotes from that piece with Shams. In this case, we have to get Ben help and not put finances above mental health. As an agent, I understand contractual obligations and I hold myself accountable in this business. But if someone is telling you something, we can no longer turn the blind eye in today's world. This is no longer about a trade. This is about finding a place where we can help Ben get back to his mental strength and get back on the floor. I want him on the floor playing the game he loves. I want Ben on the floor, whether it's in a 76ers uniform. That's not up to me. I want him in a state where he can presume play. We want to cooperate and work with him to get him back on the floor. So that's, it's
what he should have said from the beginning.
Yeah.
But he will next time. That's my point, is we're all human. We make mistakes. The best guys, the best girls, the best agents, the best doctors, they learn from their mistakes. And going forward, this is the approach he should take. And I mean, I wrote this a month, 6 weeks ago, whatever. He needs a hug. Like I wasn't. People really criticized me from Philadelphia.
Because people are nuts. That's because they only care about the Sixers, and they're like, oh, we've seen Ben enough. We hate him. He doesn't shoot, whatever. Yeah. So that's
Yeah, he needs a lot. He needs a lot of love, and he also needs some professional help. He's getting it. And the Sixers, no surprise, are better on offense. Although they made some offseason deals that worked, and Tyrese Maxey's improved a great deal. He's very good now. He was amazing last night. But they're way worse on defense.
For sure.
No surprise. Ben
Simmons right. We know that. We knew that was coming.
And I don't think they'd be worse on offense if he was there with the new guys they have, with Maxey playing great. I think they might be better than what they are now, which would make him a hell of a team.
And George Niang, which you so cleverly pointed out on Twitter, that 29 other teams could have had him for, I don't know, not that much money.
He's making he's got a 2-year, like $6.7 million deal. Like, what are you doing? 29 teams. I don't care who you are. A talent like that, just pay him more than what the Sixers offered and then trade him for a good asset that'll help your team down the road if you're not trying to win. It's just, it's not like he didn't do great in Utah. Yeah. And Andre Drummond's been terrific.
He has been. He's played well. He's played well.
Center, making $5 million a year.
He might be the best backup center in the league.
Yeah. But Maxey, who I loved coming out of the draft, is really good. He's still nowhere near where he needs to be. But as a second year, 20, 21-year-old,
he's good. Fun. We agree, though, that we think for Ben to have a chance to thrive, it ain't going to be here. It's got to be somewhere else. Yes.
I certainly have seen nothing to make me think that it's suddenly going to be puppy dogs and ice cream in Philadelphia. And I don't know the fans like you do, but I was alive when they pelted Santa Claus
through batteries.
That was back when the only games were on, CBS basically, and Brent Musburger, and they were pelting poor little Santa like that. And they had the court systems, in the bowels of this old Memorial Stadium, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
So I don't get the it's funny. I think that fans sometimes take on the Raiders this in football. Philadelphia does it, all the sports. They take on the identity that maybe they once had, even if it's a terrible identity.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it's cool or sexy to be known as a fucking jackass. That would not be a brand that I like associated with my name.
Right.
But the Sixers fans and the Eagles, they all seem to embrace it like the Raiders fans enjoy being crazy and wild for their team. I would have liked, I think Philly, we'll see. Daryl's not going to have an easy time replacing this guy.
No.
And the truth is they could be the favorites to win the East with Brooklyn because they're good without him. If everyone was healthy, COVID separate from that, and Ben Simmons was there, they could be the best team in the East.
Sure. They were the number one seed last year. We saw it.
Yeah. They'd be better than last year. Right. And so I don't, it's not going to be easy to replace them. I hope so. The most important thing is I want to see Ben get back on the court. I want to see Ben get better.
Yeah, for sure.
He's allowed to get better still. Marc Gasol and Brook Lopez learned to shoot threes in their late 30s or mid 30s. This guy's mid 20s. Come on.
But he doesn't even need to be a 38% three-point shooter. Right. Coach, if he just becomes like average at offense with everything he does on defense, and the playmaking, God.
It's really more important that he makes free throws and loses his fear of them because we'll talk about Scottie in a minute. That mindset of just being around the rim all the time at 6'10" and super athletic with quick hands. His hands are so quick, he can grab rebounds all over the place. That would change things. But he doesn't want to be down there. He doesn't want to loiter around there because he doesn't get fouled. So I would even focus on free throws more than threes.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Let's talk about your favorite player in the world besides your son, Scottie Barnes.
Yeah, so I was watching them play last night, and the Sixers without Tobias was back, but it was a little bit rusty. No Embiid, no Thibodeau, no Isaiah Joe. Maxey was getting off. Drummond was doing fine. The Sixers seemed to control the third quarter. And just like we talked about the Golden State knockout punch, the Raptors, first of all, the Raptors are right there always in first in transition points and steals. They went through a stretch where Scottie was doing everything, of which some stuff wasn't coming in the box score, Jarod. It was the buckets around the rim because he hangs around the rim. It was the quick Gretzky pass. He got a pass in the middle of the floor, boom, kicked out the other way right away for three, but then made one more pass and the guy made the shot because he doesn't need to occupy the ball to impact the game. It was trawling up on defense. The other day he blocked someone at the rim to win a game. I just went blank as who it was. That might have been last night. He might have blocked someone last night from at the rim, like a great block. I didn't realize he blocked it. I think I missed. He blocked it. It was setting a screen. It was a read where he was on the right side of the court as you face the rim. The ball's on the left side. They go to throw a skip pass, but as the wing recognized I shouldn't throw the skip pass, Scottie, they were kind of sloughing off Scottie towards the ball. He right away read it and just set a back screen on his own man, because I think it was like a zone they were playing, and they hit a wide open three. It's just all the little things, and he's nowhere near the player he can. Doesn't mean he'll get there. He's got to work on some things
for sure.
To be Kawhi and KD and Paul George and LeBron and those kind of Giannis dribbling, shooting, scoring. But for a guy that is still a long way for his potential, he leads rookies in scoring and rebounding. Of course, he also leads in minutes because he's playing 34 a game. But you can lead in minutes and not be that.
For sure.
He's got a net positive. Net
I was going to say, he's probably one of the only rookies that got, Evan Mobley too. That has a net positive rating.
There's a few that play less minutes. They're not playing starters as much. They're playing, but still work, like Herb Jones, who might even be starting out for New Orleans. He's got a great net margin for a team that's terrible. Very impressive for Herb Jones.
The Pelicans,
I know his agent, and I'm sure they're thrilled. But yeah, he's a net positive guy. Yeah, there's the points per game now. Duarte's third, Jalen Green's fourth. Wagner's doing well. Cunningham has only played 5 games. But yeah, I think, Scottie's shooting 50% from the field because he's hanging around the rim.
Love it.
He and Mobley are going to be neck and neck, I think, all season, barring injury, for that rookie of the year.
Oh man, guys, I think you should have. The odds have changed now, but I think preseason on one of my other shows, I said Evan Mobley rookie of the year or Scottie Barnes. Put a flyer on that because it was everybody was going Green and Cunningham. I was like, I think it's gonna be one of those two. But now the odds have definitely changed given how they're starting. But it might still be good. Coach, you mentioned something really quick about Scottie, and I wanted to go back to that. Of course, we know like why ball stopping is not good, but talk about the importance of the touch pass and not holding on to the ball. And how, again, that doesn't show up in the box score. It's like when you watch a good soccer team and the ball doesn't stay on someone's foot. They just quick touch, gone. And what it does to the defense and what it does for your offense.
Yeah. It's everything, because you're trying to get an advantage. You're trying to get an open shot. So when you hold the ball, defenders can reset out. So if they're helping and you're holding it, they can reset back to where they're supposed to be. And so that one quick play makes it harder for defenses. You're right about soccer, of course. There's a team in soccer called West Brom. I think they're just dropped down. I think they're down in the Championship League now. But they just never can attract the talent to pass the beautiful game of soccer. They just don't pay enough money. So they just bomb it down the field with long kicks and just try to kick goals in. And they go up to Premier League, and then they go down to the Championship League because they just can't afford to keep paying it. But at least they keep going up. That's worth money to their owners. Hint to my guys. We like to do the same thing. I like to get back up. That's where Jalen Green doesn't get it at all.
Oh, he's a ball stopper. He gets the ball on it.
Super sticky. And honestly, if back in the day, Jarod, at ESPN, I used to do an end of the year article on who a rookie should be watching. Not who people thought sometimes I was saying, well, this guy could be like this guy. No, I was trying to say, here's what they should study. Like for Wiggins, I think I picked James Harden because Harden was a brilliant ball handler and didn't used to be. And I thought Wiggins learned to handle like that, he could be a much better player. I still feel that way. I think Jalen Green should probably study Kevin Durant. Because Durant, if you took Jalen Green's mind and put on Durant's body and he had Durant's skill set, he would score 40 points a game, but they would lose a lot more. Durant really knows how to play. And Jalen, no one his age knows how, though Scottie and Evan are the best I've seen maybe at knowing how to play since maybe Magic. Because Magic and Bird.
They knew how to play when they got to the league.
Unbelievable.
But they were also, Magic was younger, but Bird was 22 or 23 when he got to the league. So,
Right. Magic was his
19
in college.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, last night, Scottie started at center. Like he's playing all 5 positions. He'll advance the ball up. He guards the other team's center a bunch. But yeah, Jalen just they have a lot to learn. And guys like KD, they just time it up. They understand there's 5 guys out there, not just one.
Which, by the way, remember KD in his first couple seasons, it took him a while too.
It was Jalen Green. Yeah.
He didn't know how to play either.
No.
Excellent scorer, but it's like, no, dude, we got to do more. And I think around year 3, it was like, oh, I get it.
Near the end of year 3, they were still a net negative when he was on the court for the Thunder. By year 4, he was an all-star. He might have been an all-star in year 3, but he didn't deserve it. Yeah. He was just a scorer. He wasn't impacting wins till later. But now, and it's funny, you've always held the torch for him. I mean,
my guy.
I wanted him going number 1. I was on ESPN on the record.
Oh, I thought he should. I said that easy.
Yeah, I thought him over Odin, as Henry knows. But I think that we wrote this. I wrote an article where I said Zion or KD are the 2 MVP candidates that I was focused on.
You did.
And don't quit on Zion just yet. I'm hearing things.
Yeah.
All I can say. I'm hearing.
I think I'm hearing the same things you're hearing from probably the same source.
Okay. No, I'm sure not. I know who I'm talking to. But KD is just, everyone sees it like he's just this treasure.
Well,
not forget about him.
What I worry about with that though, coach, is right now is that are they relying on him too much? Let's not. I mean, yes, he's doing awesome, and his numbers are. I mean, he's shooting 62% on twos on mid range. I mean, he's Kevin Durant, but he's still a year and a half off of Achilles surgery, and he's 33. Like, they shouldn't, if they need him like this early. I worry about April, May, and June, because again, the 16 games are the games that matter to Brooklyn, not these 82. Right. So that does have me worried. I want to talk about something about fighting in the NBA, coach. And I want to connect it to the rule calls. So we talked about how the game is much more free flowing and they're letting the guys play, especially like the offensive guys initiating contact and all that. I think what's happening now, though, is players are like, okay, the refs aren't doing this thing where they're calling the fouls, and some frustrations are starting to boil over a little bit because guys are actually getting fouled at the rim and getting hit, and refs are holding their whistle, and the guys are like, oh, wait, we're feeling it a little bit. We saw it last night in Utah with Rudy and Miles, and Donovan Mitchell said, he's like, look, the refs could have stopped this earlier if they just started calling fouls, but they didn't, when it bubbled over, right? And there was just a lot of stuff happening. The Jokic and Morris one, for me, that's Miami Heat culture, right? Like, they play to the whistle, they bump you hard, they do all that. My thing is, look, Markieff started it. Like, Eric Spoelstra said he wanted to take foul. If you wanted to do a take foul, wrap your arms or grab his jersey. That's it. Take foul. You do your free throws, you move on. You didn't do that. You went body check and you turned your back to him. Look, you could have said Jokic could react a different whatever. I'm sorry. If you do commit that kind of foul and you turn your back, that's your own fault for turning your back, right? Like, the saying, you don't need to get ready if you stay ready. If you make a play like that, you got to have your head on a swivel and know someone may come back at me and retaliate, because that really wasn't a basketball play. But I'm wondering if the way in which officials are calling the game, we're going to see a little bit more of this happening as the season goes on.
Oh, I think you nailed it. I think that the culture has changed a little bit. It's not the rule changes. It's the interpretation of the existing rules that already were there. There's just more contact. To be clear, I watched the Jazz Pacers game live. And Miles Turner blocked Rudy Gobert. He didn't foul him. And then Rudy was falling to the ground and grabbed him
and pulled him down.
Hands. And Miles gave him a little bump. And first of all, let me be clear. I did not grow up fighting. I've never been in a fight in my life.
That ain't no fight.
Almost ever. When I got to coach some kids from the projects, I learned very quickly, where I grew up, they were wrestling. Because my kids, the first thing they was throw a punch. And it was supposed to be a kill shot. And especially if you were little. Because you could not afford not to knock him out. If you were little, you're in trouble. So you punched with everything you got as fast as you could. And it made me such a better coach because I was on it. Like, I could see it coming. I could see, I see it in his eye almost for sure. I mean, I've been in brawls. I've seen many of I actually didn't mind when the players fought sometimes because I was trying to create that culture. Yeah. Right. And then we had a heel. And when you get guys fighting, throwing punches fighting, and by the way, I'm not talking about kids from inner city. I coach kids from other continents.
Yeah.
And they were not kids from well-to-do homes.
Right.
They get punches fast too. So I had a local kid fighting a Venezuelan kid one time, And the head coach and I was just volunteering to help my great friend Randall Leaf. And we were looking at each other like, this is sweet. Because a couple years before, the team had won 2 games. Like now they're fighting for pride.
Yeah.
And then we healed them. And they became great friends. And we realized the enemies are the guys we want to fight. So, but I do think, to your point exactly, it does ratchet up the intensity. And I personally think Donovan's wrong. The league needs to step up and say, hey, you guys are grown as men. You're going to get bumped a little bit. Quit acting out on that. Just like we tell every high school kid and college kid, you can't act out to that. Now, what Jokic did to Markieff, I agree with what you said, but that could have really fucked him up.
Could have.
That's when you snap a guy's neck, I think that's where Udonis and Jimmy Butler was like, that is above and beyond. So I don't want that. I don't want any fights, period. I'm just over all of that shit. Let's compete our asses off and not act like fools.
Play hard, and you can get physical. That's cool. Nobody's got a problem with that. But let's not skirt over that line. And they all know what the line is. They know what is.
And Gobert and Miles knew. I think they were surprised they got kicked out for hugging each other tightly. And to be fair, those guys have long ass fingers, very easily breakable. I've seen lots of broken hands, normally against walls that are padded in gyms. Guy misses a layup, he punches the wall, fucking broken hand. I have no patience for that shit. Hitting a guy's face, same thing. You're gonna break a hand.
Yeah, for sure.
In the movies, they don't break it. It fucking happens all the time, especially at their large ass hands. So let's just cut that shit out. I like the lead. They kicked everyone out.
Yeah.
Donovan got kicked out of the game last night. Yeah. Wingles got kicked out for touching the referee.
Yeah, no, that was
they need to step in.
The Pacers needed that win, first of all, because they've been struggling. So that was a nice win for them. But Gobert after the game was like, I mean, everybody knows nobody in the NBA is fighting for real. Like, it's true. Like, they're not. You want to go take it, and he actually said, he's like, if guys want to find me to fight for real, they know where to find me. But on the court, no one's actually going to fight because they don't want to lose all that money. For sure. But if you had to pick one team that might really fight, who would it be? Probably the Heat, just because they seem to like to fight.
I agree.
UD and Jimmy and you saw the picture. They were all in the hallway, and Andy Ellsberg had to stand in the way to block them from going past the door to get into the Nuggets dressing room. It's like, all right, guys, are you really going to fight for real back here? Come on.
I tell you, I'm just saying this from experience. UD will choke you out.
Well,
he can't break his finger that way. He's going to put his hands right here and choke you the fuck out.
He's got mitts.
Pull him off and choke it.
He's got mitts. He's got mitts.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Those are big mitts.
He's not risking a broken hand.
I have a question for you. So we got about 8 minutes left here. Are the Washington Wizards for real? Because I know it's only 11 games. I like what I'm seeing so far.
The coach has done a great job. Wes Unseld Jr. has done a great job. They play defense.
Yes,
they don't always play defense. When they don't, he calls them out. Yeah, they've got and they can get much better. And Hachimura is not even there.
And Beal's not even playing well offensively.
And Beal's not doing great. Yeah, they're finding ways. I think their strength of schedule rating is very low. I think it's bottom 5, bottom 6, maybe 24th. So that helps. But still, you don't apologize for wins. And my buddy Tommy Shepard's done well. They've got plenty of players. Hachimura's not doing anything. He's not even there. Abdia's just doing okay defensively, not much offensively. He's a little danger. Caldwell Pope's doing good. Kuzma's doing good. Kuzma's playing well.
He is.
Dinwiddie, you see what he's doing with cryptocurrency?
Yes.
That's a smart kid.
Listen, Dinwiddie's always
guy.
When he was in Brooklyn, he was always whenever I chat with him, he's always a couple steps ahead. He thinks differently, and I enjoy Spencer a lot. He's someone the Nets could like to have on their roster right now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So everyone knows Scottie Pippen has this book out and his memoir.
I didn't until you posted it.
And Coach, I had to. This is hilarious. I had to read this excerpt because I was dying. So everyone knows Scottie Pippen was a member of the 6-time champion Chicago Bulls. They were the 72-10 team that won the NBA title that year against Seattle Supersonics until the Warriors won 73-9. That was the best record in the NBA. But the Bulls have maintained since the Warriors didn't win the title, they are not the greatest team of all time. We are. So Pippen talks about it in his book. I'll stack our roster against the Warriors any day, especially our second three-peat teams, right? So that's the one that won against the 72-10 team that won against the Sonics, and the last two that beat the Jazz. Let's go through the matchups. Dennis Rodman or Draymond Green at power forward? Dennis. Luke Longley or Andrew Bogut / JaVale McGee at center? Luke. Michael Jordan or Klay Thompson at shooting guard? Michael. Here is the kicker. Me or Kevin Durant at small forward? You could go either way. The only matchup clearly in Golden State's favor would be Steph Curry over Ron Harper at point guard. One more thing. The Warriors had nobody off the bench as skilled as Tony Kukoc. Prediction, Bulls in 6. The series couldn't go 7. After all, we were never extended to game 7 in an NBA Finals. Coach, I laughed my ass off when I read that passage. I was like, Scottie is hilarious. And I want to be clear about something. Scottie Pippen is one of my favorite players of all times, one of the greatest players of all time. Like, excellent. But me or Kevin Durant, you can go either way. I'm dying. I am dying.
So the only thing I'll say in defense of Scottie, which is not easy to do, is all these guys have a large chip on their shoulder that,
of course,
as I'm better than
especially him, given his background coming from Central Arkansas and all that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. They just all think they're better than everyone all the time. It's just a stupid thing. Bulls fans will buy his book because they believe him, right? They believe that stuff. But Dennis over Draymond.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think so, buddy. I was like,
no.
And listen, I want to be. Dennis Rodman was outstanding.
Yeah.
But and here's why I'm giving Draymond the edge. I would say defensively, they might be even, and Dennis might even be better defensively.
I agree.
But offensively, no, I know Draymond doesn't shoot, but Draymond is a hub on offense that Dennis Rodman was never, and that makes Draymond a better player.
Hey, they're taking Longley over Andrew Bogut. He said Longley over Bogut.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't have done that either. And then you ignore that. He says Kukoc, but Golden State's bench had Iguodala.
Right. I was like, what
good Iguodala.
Right.
Yeah.
John
Livingston.
Right. Yeah. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Like, but I had to laugh because it's, Scotty's getting high of his own supply. He's got rum he's got to sell. He's got a book he's got to sell. So,
He's got rum?
No, yeah. He's got his own rum. Yeah. Oh, Judy, can you play that last clip right before we get to top 5, right underneath the passage? This was the Timberwolves game against the percent. You can just read Ant's lips. He says, hey, Steph, I'm about to go for 50. Wait, and the best is watch Steph's reaction. This is just classic.
So Ant says, hey, Steph, I might get 50.
I'm about to go 50. Steph's like,
okay. Yeah. That's awesome. But he got 48, didn't he?
Right, he did get 48. And I love it.
But how many points did he have when he said that?
I don't recall. He might have been in the 40s already by that point.
He's a fucking scoring talent.
Oh, he's a character. And Steph and Kerr were super complimentary after the game. He and Steph had like a nice long embrace and chatted it up. Like, I love like that and just the mindset, right? Like, Steph, the vet, 2-time MVP. I've done this. Ant, the young guy coming up. Hey, Steph, I'm going to score 50. Yeah.
Like, exactly how I think. Like, Steph Curry is thinking about winning the game. There's so many things going on. Young cat. It's just, this is what I'm saying. They just don't get it.
He's like,
Curry, I guarantee you, Curry is not at all thinking about how many points he might get in the game. He wants to win the game.
All right, Coach, let's go. Top 5s.
All right. Number 5 for me is I will say scorching hot Phoenix Suns.
Ooh.
Winners of 5 in a row, I think. Yeah, they found their groove a little bit.
Oh, I like that. Number 5 for me, the Washington Wizards. I had to give it to him, Coach. Number 5 in net rating right now. Had to give it to him.
Yeah, I hear you. Number 4 for me, I probably have them a little bit low, but you have the Nets 1 or 2, I'm sure. I have the Nets at 4. Oh, okay. I have the Nets at 4. Honestly, if you had them number 1, I don't think you're crazy.
Nets not in my top 5. They're an asterisk just because. And listen, and by the way, they're playing excellent defense. By the way, they're top 5 right now in defense, playing well. So, but I just have them asterisk because Harden hasn't done his thing yet.
Right.
Number 4, Chicago Bulls. Look, number 4 in net rating. Like, listen, they're doing it. I like it.
Yeah, it's the one. They were number 6 for me. Number 3, I've got the Jazz, although they're not playing very well right now, but they still have I think it's second best record.
Jazz number 3 for me.
Yep. Number 2, your number 5 Wizards. They play a decent schedule, not great. They're not bottom 3 or 4. I think what are they? Like I said, 24th, but they're winning the game they're supposed to win. They've got a little connection. I got them number 2.
Even though they are struggling of late and lost Miami. 3 straight, their net rating is still 8 adjusted, and they played 14th toughest schedule. Miami.
Yeah, I watched the other game of the night. I was down on them. And then we both have Golden State number 1 because they're winning their games.
Winning the games.
Yeah.
Blowing everyone out who they're supposed to blow out. I can't wait. I will be in the house next Tuesday night. Golden State Warriors coming to Brooklyn to play the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah.
Let's go. Oh,
should be a good one.
Sweet.
Should be a good one.
I won't be there. We'll be in Gainesville this weekend to see my son play live for the first time.
Good luck, Max. Hope you beat the Gators' ass. Go Noles. I don't think I've ever said go Noles in my life. Oh, my God. Go Noles. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.